Welcome back, welcome back. Please settle down. We are starting now. So lunch के बाद session हमेशा difficult होता है. But we will start. So welcome back. Innovation के बिना there is no entrepreneurship, right? I mean, innovation and entrepreneurship go hand in hand. It is the key to progress and change. So our next session, Accelerating Innovation, talks about unleashing speed and ingenuity towards powering high-octane startup. I want to welcome on stage the next panelist, Sandeep Sinha, founder, Arficus Private Limited, NGIS funded startup. Please come on the stage, Sandeep Sinha. Thank you for clapping. Thank you for welcoming them. Mr. Rahul Agarwalla, Managing Partner, SenseAI Ventures. Welcome, Rahul. Praneet Singhal, Director, One Lattice. Praneet Singhal, Director, One Lattice. Great. Sahil Jagnani, Founder, Primary HealthTech Private Limited. It's again an NGIS funded startup. Okay, we want more energy. Thank you. Amol Mujumdar, Senior Director Technology, Rediff India Limited. Yes, let's give them great hand here. And Vikrant Varshney, Managing Partner, SucSEED. So please welcome the panel and the anchor for the panel. So I leave the stage to them. Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, can you hear me? Yes? Hello? Okay, I've got the tough job to keep you guys awake after lunch. Okay, I'll try my best. Most of the time, when we are interacting with the founders and they are pitching to us, that's the job they had to do with us. This time it's my job to keep you guys awake. I've got a very interesting panel. We have got a venture capital fund, in the form of SenseAI. We have got a research firm represented by Praneet. We have got a large corporate which started as a startup 20 odd years back, or probably a little more. And we have got two startups who have been supported through STPI program and moderated by another venture capital fund. Right? So I hope we'll make it interesting. We'll give you some masala, and we'll also open it up for one or two questions from you as well. This session is completely unrehearsed. We have all met everybody 10 minutes back. I have not even met some of these guys before this session. So what you will see today on the stage is just raw interaction, ex-tempo, no planning, right? So they don't know the questions which I would be asking, and I don't know the answers that they would be giving. So enjoy it, and that's why the questions that we would ask would also be meaningful. So the theme of the session would revolve around innovation, but I'm sure you guys would be seeing it all from different lenses because of the role that you are playing. I'll start with my colleague, with, from the VC perspective, Rahul. So if you want to define what's your fund thesis, what do you focus on, and how do you look AI differently?
Sure. Thank you. Excited to be here on this panel and talk to all of you. So SenseAI Ventures has AI in its name. So we've been doing AI-focused investing for the last 4 years plus, and long before ChatGPT came around. And the central thesis was that AI is the next wave, and we need to fund innovative startups which are building new, novel AI solutions which solve real problems, right? So real AI to solve real problems was how we started the entire fund. We've invested in about 12 startups. It's been a really good journey. And we keep funding more. We just set up a new fund. So that's what we do. And only one thing I want to just double click on is when we say AI, we mean AI first. What is AI first? Right? Everybody claims to be AI now. Much like .com mein sab .com ban gaye the. Everybody now does AI. But AI first fundamentally is where AI is central to the value proposition of the startup. Without that AI, the product or the service just doesn't work. That's what we mean. The parallel is if you take a boat, you can attach a motor, it will go faster. But the boat works without the motor. On the other hand, a ship can't move without a motor. Without its engine, it doesn't move. So we like ships where AI is the motor, right? AI हटा दिया तो ship कहीं नहीं जाएगा. So that's what we do.
Yeah, thank you. And at what stage do you generally invest in?
Yeah, so we invest early stage startups. Our typical funding is about $600,000 or 5 crores. We can do less than that, more than that, but that's our sweet spot. We look for IP, intellectual property, thick IP we try to say. So we look for innovation. That's the criteria. We don't, revenue is there, not there is not the criteria. Our belief is very simple. If you can build something which is truly innovative, we can find a way, the right customer, the right go-to-market, working with you guys. If you're smart enough to do that, the other problems are much smaller.
Sure, thank you. Good to see some silence coming in the room. It makes the panelists more interested to give an answer. So Sandeep, why don't you talk about your company, share with us what's the problem you're solving, and how do we start supporting you guys?
First of all, thank you, Vikrant, for hosting this panel discussion over for us. A bit about Arficus is what we have created, is the company's name. We have a product named Medini out there in the market. Medini is world's first ever generative AI based SAMD. We have created the name of SAMD. What SAMD is all about? It is software as a medical device. That is what an SAMD is all about. So what Medini is, Medini creates an early prognosis, affordable and accurate diagnostics, and preventive healthcare. That means the future health prediction. We not only provide an early diagnosis of the diseases, even for the chronic and complex diseases to which we do cater, like that of oncology, pulmonology, neurology, nephrology, and cardiology, is where we cater to 138 diseases with our software. Is also we provide the future health prediction of a particular patient, means what all diseases a patient could suffer in the upcoming 5 years. We hold a clinically certified accuracy of 99.31%. It's completely a B2B and B2G business is where we cater on to. Our software is being used as hospitals, healthcare centers, diagnostic labs, insurtech, biotech, biopharma, and CSR DMF projects is where to cater. We right now operate over in 10 countries with a strong team of 47 people and almost all 164 clientele base which we have right now over in healthcare. And I take this stage over as an advantage to provide that we are the world's first SAMD which we have created. And we provide the disease diagnosis even in just 53 seconds. That means if I'll just take the use case example, suppose like a breast cancer, which is very pretty advent over in the society. Right now, when the patient needs to undergo 4 mandatory tests, it could be a tissue culture, excisional incisional biopsy, and mammogram. We have slashed down the number of tests to just single one. With just mammogram input, we provide the results with a similar set of accuracy, what a patient was getting after doing 4 tests. And earlier, patient used to spend 6 days and on an average 18,000 rupees. Here, we have cut short that diagnosing time to just 53 seconds and in just INR 485 rupees. So we not only had slashed down the diagnosing cost, diagnosing time, and also we parted the patient from a painful set of biopsy process where a patient needs to undergo. The same is again replicated to all other verticals which we do cater. The market has quite widely accepted us, and yeah, this is how so far we advented. We started over in 2019. In 2023, I'll always keep a mark myself that we have grown a lot over ourselves, and we look forward over in the coming journey.
Big round of applause for him. You know, the kind of description he made on reducing time, improving efficiency, bringing cost, and a good accuracy. And that too in few years' time. MedTech obviously is a difficult category. Health, they have brought digital health and MedTech activities together, taking approvals and doing it in short window obviously is a good example of a disruptive innovation. So good job doing it. Tell us, you know, bit more about what support you got from incubators or accelerators on the way as a founder. What are the areas which have started to work well in India, and where do you think you would want more in future as a founder, even if not for yourself, but even for, you know, founder ecosystem overall?
Vikrant, where we started ourselves onto, that was a pretty that was the era of COVID, is where we started ourselves onto. Bit skeptical over in the market. Many healthcare companies have started over at that particular point of time. What actually matters when it comes down to a healthcare, because much of the healthcare companies are still out market. You are even a managing partner, you must be encountering many healthcare companies over in your in day-to-day pitches of whatever a healthcare company approaches onto. But what matters the most is when you are creating a value and impact, is where the people actually needs your solution or not. That is the actual niche where when the healthcare company works onto. When we started ourselves, NGIS Chunauti and Pontac, Mr. Prem Bhartasarthi and Rajni and his team came as a very first savior over to us. They provided us over with a seed fund support. Is there when our clinical trials first launched onto. But later on, when we started developing our developing our product over on much greater depth, is we required the detailed analysis or much more higher set of machineries is where we could utilize our software onto. STPI MedTech Lucknow came as a savior to us over that particular point of time. And with the B2G connects, STPI and their team always a very good help over to us. So they provided us the B2G connects over for that. And then from there we took off over in 2020. And I'll always say a touch wood that since 2020 is where we got our first client onto, there is no look back over to us. And far ahead, acceptable over in the market, but still earlier, it was like doctors always have a fear that technology is replacing them. We provided them with an assurance that, okay, it's not a replacement to a doctor, but it is a clinical decision support tool. We are providing you better inferences than what you are getting earlier. Is then when the doctors and medical fraternity accepted the solution onto, right now we hold 60% of our business is domestic, 40% is international. We operate over in 10 countries, as I say. And yeah, always creating an impact, having a right sets of resource, and the medical fraternity is always an important to whenever you come down over for a healthcare sector. It depends, and it again synchronized to any other sector, means if for it EV or for it comes to sustainability, the particular impact sector is very important, is what we always look it up for.
Wonderful. And are you also unit economics positive?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. Great. Okay, I'll move it to now to our friend from Rediff, Amol. Amol, as we were discussing, you guys were a startup in the first season of startup ecosystem in India.
That's right.
It's been a couple of decades. You became a large enterprise. Since then, you've also seen ups and downs as an entity. How are you shaping up now as an enterprise, and what are you guys doing to support the startup ecosystem? Tell us about it.
Yeah. So we are an internet company, right? So we started way back in 1995, And so I've been there since 99, so I can only talk about what happened after 99. But the big thing happened then is after initial rounds of funding, we managed to list on NASDAQ. And that's how the whole startup story changed to a corporate story. Nevertheless, the whole internet industry business has been changing, and as we talk, it's evolving even now. We were the first to launch a public email service in India. And very few people know that we also are in the space of corporate email, so we went B2B also. So we are one of the players in the industry where we supply cloud-hosted email services in India. Now, when this whole cloud-hosted thing happened, cloud is a big thing now when people say move to the cloud. So we were one of the first to move to the cloud and create this whole cloud infrastructure in India. To the extent that when we had to take a decision on how do we host our services, do we host it in the West or do we host it in Singapore or other regions, we took a conscious decision of hosting in India and making sure that the data of Indian citizens resides and stays in India, not just at rest, but also in transit. So we did a lot of innovation and we did a lot of effort, put a lot of effort and through help from certain institutions and all of that, we set up our own sort of a peer network in India. And later on, when that became quite a success, we also invested in certain companies where these companies who were in the space of media and internet and advertising and stuff like that, those guys got acquired. We acquired them. Some of them were funded by us, and that's how it all started. As we speak, also we work very closely with educational institutions, research institutions. We have interns coming in working with us during the summer internship and all that. So that's how it's been shaping, and we hope to keep that pace in future also.
Nice. I'll ask you a question of, when you were in the first season, when you saw startup ecosystem evolving, and then obviously it didn't grow at that point in time. How do you see the startup ecosystem from 2014-15 onward in India? What are the similar attributes and different attributes around innovation? Did we have innovation-centric businesses earlier also? Do you want to see some, parameters which might be important for us to consider?
Yeah. I'll answer this question in a slightly different way. In one of the earlier discussions, there was a gentleman who said, is India a developed country or a developing country, right? And then I think everybody, concurred that it is a developed country rather than a developing country. But I beg to differ. I mean, there is some lot to be done so far from now here on. Is because ever since 2004, 14 and after that, there's a lot of innovation and a lot of growth happening in certain sectors, particularly with the fintech sector, with the medical research sector and all of that. But a lot needs to be done. I can cite some particular examples. One of them is in the medical research space, where I feel there is a lot to be done by the industry themselves, a whole lot of patents, and which deters a lot of other smaller companies from doing any research or launching any products. One of the examples is this whole robotic surgery sort of industry, which did not develop too much in India for almost 20 years because the company had a patent for it. The moment those patents started opening up and industry started opening up patents, now we see robotic surgery happening everywhere. So that's one of the things. The other thing is there's a lot to be done in the developing the whole ecosystem around at least the high-tech industry, even with respect to software. Now, we do decently well in certain areas on software, like, for example, where we talk about e-commerce. And so in e-commerce, we have developed the whole ecosystem where we have everything from supply chain integrated to CRMs, VRMs, payments, digital payments, and all of that. But software as an industry itself has not really took off in India to the extent, this is my personal feeling, of course, because deep technologies like, for example, compilers, testing tools, and so on, they are yet not developed in India. There are certain things being done in the right direction by the likes of, so there's a company called J&K operations or something like that in Chennai, right? It was funded by IIT Chennai. And they developed the first Android equivalent operating system, which is Bharat OS. And so many more like that, So Maya is one of the operating systems. So that is where we need to focus more. So that is where the innovation, the whole inclusiveness is yet to happen. Again, an industry like, for example, microprocessor manufacturing, So what does it take to get fabs in India? So besides the design itself, which already happens here, innovation around design, but things like the chemical supply chain for fabs and those kind of things, and then clean room experts, those are the kind of things, those are the areas where there is a lot to be done yet. That's what my opinion is.
Thank you for giving that, different perspective. Since we were talking about a research and that to medical research, I'll bring in Praneet here. Praneet works for One Lattice as a research focus. Praneet, why don't you talk about how you guys are bringing research dimensions and how do you see this ecosystem evolving differently?
Yeah, thanks Vikrant for that. So while at One Lattice, we are more of a consumer or a market research firm, but talking on the topic about overall how India can do much better. So we have always been very services based, lot of say a back office to the world. Whereas all the key folks in India who actually have the right acumen to do the research, they never found that good ecosystem in India and actually migrated outside of India and are doing wonderful research there. Now, obviously the ecosystem is changing, evolving, government playing a lot of role. So what is really happening is that currently either you have very large organizations which literally employ the entire country, and India had always been a very entrepreneurial driven economy. But with the last 2 to 3 decades, you can no longer be an entrepreneur doing just the traditional works, but need to really innovate. And I think that is where some of these schemes like NGIS and today what we have seen the launch of, that also really helps enable these ecosystem. Just let me give you one example in terms of the number of patents. So India as a country is doing roughly around 2,000 patents a year. And if you say talk about an organization like a Samsung, they alone are doing much more than that. So I would sort of agree with Amol in terms of while we are moving in the right direction, there is still a lot of gap in terms of the overall ecosystem evolving, and also every player within the ecosystem also playing their role.
Okay, that's a very interesting example and quite a shocking one also, that Samsung alone is doing more patents than India as a whole. I'm sure all of you would like to then review this as a reflection in coming days. Do you want to give example of couple of success and failures, and how research could act as a differentiator?
Yeah, so let me talk about some of the recent examples. So recently one of the company that got listed, so IdeaForge, into the drone space. Now we have all seen the movie Three Idiots about a decade back, and we were sort of first introduced to the drone, and then mostly we had seen it in marriages. But now here to really see an Indian organization really innovating with various products, competing with best in the world. Otherwise, drones were mostly seen to be, say, used by the US military across the world. They've really innovated well, and obviously with a lot of support from the government. Overall ecosystem, the regulations need to be very supportive. They've been able to do very well. Another example of innovation, which is again coming from the government side, has been Chandrayaan. So in terms of the amount of money that we have spent and what we have been able to achieve with that. This also really tells that we can really do it. It's just that we have not been so serious about it. And another thing to look at is both of these have actually got enabled from the government. So not entirely from the private ecosystem. And I think really to be able to go to a very large scale, it has to be where the private sector is able to do this without much help from the government itself. Now, one more example in terms of where innovation did not really work out. About 20, 25 years back, we had Orkut as a social media platform. And I was in college during those days, and it used to be the go-to thing for everyone. That time, we were just starting to have smartphones. So Orkut was more of a web-only platform for social media communication. Now, after that, with the advent of smartphone, everyone started using phones for everything. That's where they missed the trick. And that's where they gave the opportunity to Facebook. Now, Orkut was also Google-based, so it had a lot of potential to do, but could not.
So you're highlighting that not just the innovation, but your channels, your go-to-market strategy also could make you relevant or get you out of market also, right?
Absolutely.
Sure. Since you touched upon an interesting point, and I would explore this further with Rahul. Rahul, he was highlighting in a certain fashion, and he differentiated, in his response, different types. Do you see business innovation and tech innovation differently? Do you have a perspective on it?
Absolutely. No, great question. And thank you for providing that differentiation. So if you look at the venture capital industry and the startup ecosystem, a lot of the investment has gone into consumer tech, as it's called, like whether it is e-commerce, delivery, these are all consumer tech startups. Here the innovation typically is around logistics, around convenience, about choice, about price, which is all, I would say, one kind, business kind of innovations, right? What was missing, and in fact SenseAI was born out of that, which was in the Indian ecosystem, IP-based or intellectual property-based, innovation-based startups were few and far between, right? I mean, and when we talk about intellectual property here, we're talking about hard intellectual property from whether it was science, technology, those kind of things, where we build patents, we build new products or services. And to me, that is a piece we will see increasingly going forward. I mean, even in the last few years, if you look, I mean, you mentioned Chandrayaan, right? That's hard science, that's hard innovation. And it is tough to do. I invest in artificial intelligence, right? So I'm sure most of you have used ChatGPT. Can I actually get a show of hands? Who all have used ChatGPT? So as you can see, that's a great innovation, right? It is a very interesting, and actually if you go and understand what was that led to ChatGPT. So the technology behind it is actually not so new. It was in a 2017 paper where they talked about transformers and attention is all you need. It was a paper by Google. And that fundamental technology they used and they scaled. The insight that drove that innovation was that the key difference between a bird's brain and a human brain is size. And which means in nature itself, if larger size of brain leads to much higher level of thinking, orders of innovation, creativity, all of those pieces, which other animals do not exhibit, then size must be important. And that is how ChatGPT or GPT-3, GPT-4 now all came about. They took all the data they could find and put it into artificial intelligence. Suddenly it could do things which even 2 years ago would not have been something we would have said, right? Actually in AI, one saying which describes AI well is the things which humans find hard to do, like math, solving problems of that nature, multivariate analysis, those things are very easy for AI. But things which humans, even a toddler finds easy, were not so easy before artificial intelligence, right? I mean, language, our skill, humans have great skill with language. I mean, it doesn't matter which language you speak, we understand its structure even if we have not gone through formal education, right? We can communicate. Computers could never do that. They were based on typical direct relationships. It was mathematical, right? So suddenly AI gives you that new capability, and that then creates the base for lots more of innovation, right? Much like internet was a platform shift which helped us build so many businesses. So many companies have come out of that. So much value has been created. So much wealth has been created. All our lives, I mean, we all use the internet. We all, I mean, most of us will take a Uber back or be using the internet right now to check out news, all of that. So my point I'm making again, going back, is start thinking when we think about innovation, for us, innovation is this harder innovation, which enables lots of new things to happen. Completely novel things which are not possible to do before, right? And, and sorry, I'm just going to make one more point on this is, innovation by itself doesn't have value, right? What I'm trying to say here, just because I invent chat GPT, I've not created value. When chat GPT is used for a problem, to solve a problem, that's when value gets created, right? So don't only think about the innovation piece, think also what problem you're solving in the real world. Because value comes from there.
Yeah, and that's where innovation becomes asset in future. Otherwise, it remains as an academic exercise in some laboratories, right? So most of the time when we work with incubators, and a lot of incubators, when they come and suggest that, we have got these many, startups working, they have so many patents. And then we ask the question saying, how many of them have gone to market? And if the answer is very few, that's where you start to differentiate, saying these are academic research which have not yet been designed and created with the customer-centric approach in mind, and may or may not just be used with the use cases to take them to the market, right? So I think his point is, while we all pick up and look at, the tech innovation early, we also need to ultimately see what's the business application and where they would be making impact to the end customer, right? What's a good point of having an iPhone if it's not in your pocket, right? So ultimately it needs to reach to your pocket.
Actually, I just want to add one thing to that. A lot of people talk about Steve Jobs being this great innovator, right? Most of his life, he was a great innovator, but a failure, right? If you look at what he did at Mac, he finally from Apple, he got kicked out because revenues were not keeping up with projections. It wasn't until he invented the iPhone that they became a success. So Apple was always ahead of the curve. I mean, if you compared Apple and Windows, Apple was always ahead of the curve. Windows managed to do better business innovation, better distribution, lots of other reasons why they succeeded. Today, after the iPhone, one of the world's most valuable companies is Apple. So keep that in mind. That single company shows you the difference between just doing some innovation and saying, so what if you invented the GUI first? Actually, GUI was not even invented at Apple. It was invented at Palo Alto Networks and, Bell Labs, and then imported into Apple as well as Windows, right? So point is, innovation is great. And I think in India, we've not had so much of it. And the investors like me and there are many other brethren of mine who want to support that, but also has to keep in mind what is the ultimate purpose. Unless it's used, innovation has zero value. Innovation only in use has value.
Yeah.
So think of use.
So with that, I'll take it to Sahil. Sahil, sorry to keep you waiting for so long. We just continue to flow from one to another. Tell us what innovation you have done. Talk about your company. You're also another medtech startup onto the panel. So describe your journey, your innovation, and how it's going to impact people in the room.
Yeah, thank you, Vikrant. Hi, I'm Sahil from Primary HealthTech Private Limited, and we have developed a product, MobiLab, which is a mobile-based laboratory. So what we have developed is a glucometer kind of a device, but it can do around 25 parameters related to kidney, liver, pancreas, and heart. So the vision that we are carrying is that whenever you are going to a GP, the GP is going to prescribe you a certain regular tests, which are LFT, KFT, liver, kidney tests. For that, you have to again go to a different laboratory and do the diagnostic test. The report comes after 2 to 3 days. Again, the patient has to go to the GP, and then the entire diagnostic process takes around 3 to 4 days of time. So how we can reduce this particular process of 3 to 4 days? So we thought, let's develop a device which can give the instant result in 5 to 10 minutes, like the way glucometer does. And right now we have successfully developed and deployed the device. We have completed the certification of the device in almost 7 hospitals, got the regulatory approval as well. And we have validated almost 70 to 80,000 patients already. The learning for us is that the problem that we were thinking of solving initially is completely different when we entered with the product into the market. The customer was not exactly demanding a portable solution. He wants a solution where he can save his or her time as well. So let's suppose a villager who has some problem of kidney, and the interesting part with kidney is that you do not get a symptom also. So that particular patient, if even he knows that there is a problem, he is not going to go to the lab. The problem was not that the facilities are not available or he doesn't have the money. The problem is that he has to take the leave for 2 days. One, initially to go for the doctor to get the initial diagnostic, like lab test, he will prescribe some laboratory test. For that, he has to take a leave. After 2 to 3 days, again, he has to come back and do the testing. So we were initially focusing on increasing the number of profile, increasing the number of tests. But then we thought like how we can make it instant, user-friendly, and IoT enabled. So right now what we are doing in our device, we are doing the diagnostic test. We have connected with the teleconsultation, and also we are enabling with the pharmacy, nearby pharmacy. So the entire 360-degree solution can be delivered. And right now you have seen in the metro cities, everybody wants everything in 10 minutes. So our vision is to give everything in 10 minutes at their home, at their convenience, and that then only the non-communicable diseases can be prevented. And non-communicable diseases, people have the perspective that diabetes is the major killer. Diabetes is a killer, but it's a starting point. Due to diabetes, there are many diseases like heart, kidney, liver. All these are the bigger killer. People do not realize, so we have made the device for that. And in terms of innovation, so we are based out of IIT Guwahati Center for Nanotechnology. And what we have observed that the innovation that we are actually aiming for is not a small thing, because you have to go through 1 lakh, 2 lakh patients trial and then come up with the result. And when you go to the market, patient doesn't want. But what we have thought, like, let us do the diligently all these trials, understand what is the innovation, what is the IP behind that, and then also have a futuristic perspective so that we can actually make those solutions. So that is what, so we have launched one of the product in the market. It is getting traction. Now we are working on another innovation. So in innovation also, to solve the problem, I think one solution cannot fit for all the people. You have to keep innovating. So that is the, again, we have observed in the market. So I think for innovation in medtech, you have to have 10 to 15 years of horizon. Then only you can build a world-class product. And that's what we as a company are doing since last 5 years. Thank you.
But I just wanted to tell you that in metro, people are looking for 10 minutes in grocery and everything else, but he's giving you competition on 59 seconds.
The market is different. So ours is a blood testing. They are in the imaging. So yeah.
No, I'm just bringing a humor to it. So obviously, by the explanation you gave, it appears you are creating it for Bharat story. Is that customer typically that?
Yes, definitely Tier 2, Tier 3 cities are the major customers, but in urban areas also we are focusing on the emergency. So let's suppose somebody met with an accident, some blood parameters are required, so we are incorporating in that as well. But majority it is for the Bharat.
And I'll ask you the same question which I asked him, which was about how did the incubators and the ecosystem help you create the product? Or is there anything else you feel ecosystem could do in the journey of the founders so that we all capture those inputs in real time?
So definitely, we are in the medtech domain, which has a long gestation period. So the ecosystem is very important for us as a company. We have been supported by BIRAC, we have been supported by NGIS. The support is very important from NGIS because they have supported, given the seed fund at a stage where we were pre-revenue, pre-certification, where no investor was looking to fund at that time. But that particular check size was a very important milestone. Plus, there are a lot of connections. They have helped us, like hospital connection, like how we can incorporate those for the clinical validation. So as a whole, NGIS and Pontech team has helped us a lot. And then we are still working with them, asking for a lot of referrals. But I think because of the ecosystem, a medtech company like us was able to survive because of the grant and the seed money. So yeah.
Sure. And it's a very important point that he's highlighting. If the journey from TRL level 1 to TRL 10 for a medtech company, if it takes anywhere between 3 to 5 year or 7 year, by the time the product comes into the market and starts to scale gradually, for an investor, they are looking for an exit. And that's why not many funds, unless they have a very specific medtech and health tech focus, would be looking to back these companies which will come with 10 to 12 year of gestation period. And that's a problem statement which not many funds have been able to identify. LPs obviously look for an exit in that window. If you are going into biosciences or biotech solutions and all, some of that, journey, or even in pharma, those could even be longer or at least similar. So I think that's a difficult category to crack when it comes to funding growth. So if you guys are finding early support and navigating through that and have still reached to a reasonable level in a short time frame, we should, tell you guys kudos, keep doing the effort, and I'm sure support would, flow in. Do you have a point to make?
Vikrant, means that is the entire gist to whatever we are discussing over on accelerating innovation is how you are accelerating to where the idea has been concepted.
Yes.
And over on the innovation part, just one pointer to add to Rahul, when it comes down to any new technology, when it is AI, when it is IoT and others, because I have seen AI when it is pretty niche, means I have seen AI from 2014, I have been working across with AI. So when it comes down to a technology and its culmination, the first and foremost is why are you developing this technology and why are you developing this innovation onto? And once you are solving a real world or a complex set of problems, is then your technology leads to a particular or leads to its culmination. Otherwise, creating an innovation just out of saying when there is no user, then it is of no use. So until and unless when it comes down to AI and when it comes down to IoT, everything requires a culmination where it needs to go, whether it could be HealthTech and the others. Yeah, but yeah, accelerating innovations. So what STPI and even other government institutions, even people, means the persons like you who are helping or bolstering the startups over at this initial stage is what is actually required to accelerate those kind of innovations.
Yeah, I guess all the early stage ecosystem players are doing their bit individually to support. I think there is space to do more, but at least we are all in the right direction. I'll bring it back to Amol. Amol, we spoke about you guys trying to bring, email solutions. Is there a corporate solutions which you are designing for startup needs or anything that you are offering to startups? Do you want to talk about any of that?
Yes. So as I already mentioned, we already have a product. It's called Rediff Mail Enterprise, now rebranded as Rediff Mail for Work, which is sort of a suite where which comprises of everything from email to cloud storage, drive, video conferencing, and group messaging, chat, and all of that. Now, what we're bringing to the startup community is through STPI. We are offering this service to startups for a trial of about 6 months free of cost. And whether they like it or they can continue with it, and then we offer some special discounts to them when they wish to continue in future. So, and this is a whole gamut of products, and not just, we're not restricting it to only certain products. So, startups, so we have created something which will be shared probably with the communities very soon. And it comprises of everything. So email is where the business starts for everyone, right? So with email at the centerpiece, other things like cloud storage, document collaboration, document versioning, video message, video conferencing, audio conferencing, all of that is being offered to the startup community.
Nice. Probably last one that I would ask, Praneet, from our side, and then I'll open it up for a few questions to the audience. Praneet, how are you supporting ecosystem with research mindset? Is there any initiatives you're doing with incubators, accelerators, or ecosystem players in the research, or do you see increased desire to work on research-centric activities? I mean, I can personally speak, I have a, in our fund, we have a research stream. There are people who would be involved in sectoral buy-side research and a sell-side research. Generally, we don't have an early-stage funds who would have a research-centric team. We have a specific focus. We produce around 8 to 10 research in a year, which are sector by sector or sometimes thematic. We have now started to even have an sell-side research for our portfolio companies. But at an industry level, are you seeing any trends? Are you seeing or supporting few of those activities? Or do you desire to have more of that?
So I think, rightly mentioned by you that typically for early stage, and just because the scale is not huge, and research also comes at a cost for everyone, so it has not really been so prevalent. But as we did today, so we launched a report on the Digital India ecosystem, how it has helped the startups. So that is one of our ways to work with the government and government-funded bodies to overall research about the space and bring those findings out to everyone so that it could be useful. Obviously, as you also mentioned that, and it was part of the previous session also. So at the very early stage of investment, as Rahul mentioned, one is the IP that you hold, and also the founder is very important. What's your role, mindset, vision, what drive and energy you have. Because at the very beginning, it's a lot about passion, and gradually it starts going towards, say, more valuation or scaling. And I feel that's very important to continue just thinking about what you really want to add value with, and not just adding value to the company, but overall in terms of the offering, what value gets added. And I think probably in the last 2 to 3 years, we have been made to learn that the hard way in terms of not just thinking about valuations for the company, but actually bringing value to the people and what value your offering provides to the overall ecosystem.
Sure, great. Okay, I guess time for us to open it up for you guys. Can we have a couple of mics in the room? Hello, team, can we have a couple of mics for the audience? Are we conditioned to give the mic to them? Is that a provision? Let them do it. Yeah. Only 2 questions. We are on time, sir. I wanted to give you 10 minutes back.
Sandeep, you are the first mover, and you are delivering at 53 seconds at rupees 145. So who is your next seeker? And my second question is to all of you. Do you think innovator itself accelerate or retard innovation? As top 25 companies, tech companies, you say we should stop working on open AI for some time.
So we'll take the first one, sir. I've got 4 hands, so we'll allow the second question to come from them. Sandeep, do you want to answer?
First of all, coming down to the first mover, when we come down to a 53 seconds, basically there are 2 aspects over to this. First is when we talk it about for the company perspective, if anyone would scale it over to the same technology or others. Yeah, means, but I'll not keep myself as a marker that, okay, where what I had done that no other company would be able to do. The world is so big over to the aspects. So, but I always say if anyone else starts after that, we'll always be far ahead because we'll scale up to another level at that particular point of time. The second aspect of this, of your question comes around is when it comes down to any technology and innovation, what I believe over on AI, which is a very pretty buzzing word over right now in the market, I believe that AI has the last culmination over when you create a human-computer interface. Means even ChatGPT is one of a kind of a human-computer interface is what we are trying to create. Any of the technology firm or any of the innovations which we actually talk it about, when this innovation would culminate over at particular when you create a human computer interface is where the technology of AI would subside. When it comes down to healthcare, sustainability, EV, tech, drone, mobilities, anything, is I always believe that even with Medini, is our last mile or our last milestone would be creating a human-computer interface. Is that's what we are even working right now with Stanford University of Biodesign to creating the world's first ever non-invasive neurochip, which enables a self-diagnosing capability for every human. We started ourselves designing onto with Stanford University of Biodesign, and yeah, hope so. You in just a year or two, you would be able to have it on a clinical trial phase. So
good one.
Yeah.
Thank you. I saw a hand being raised here. Yeah, this one. Can we give the mic? Who can diagnose it? Radiologist?
The software is being used by radiologists, doctors, or you can say for a GP, practitioners, anyone could use that.
Practitioner will require the images.
Yeah, it works both the ways. It works even in radiology and pathology too.
And which cancer do you are developing?
We even work for lung cancer, chronic kidneys, then we work for breast cancer. We work for...
Is it available?
Yes, yes. Melanomas, carcinomas, yes.
It's available?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And you could have detailed conversation with the guys during the coffee break time. Okay, you are the last, and then there is a lady here, right? So only 2 questions. Can we go to him?
Hi, good evening, everyone. Basic and a simple question to everyone. How important is monopoly and a competition in the market?
Monopoly and competition. Rahul, you want to answer? You're the
Yeah,
money guy.
one, they are opposites, right?
Agreed. So either of them, which you think is more important?
What do you mean by important to whom?
From an
To the
investor
monopolist, the monopoly is very
standpoint,
important.
from the investor standpoint, do you think monopoly is good in a market, or you think competition is a good thing to have in a market?
See, the answer is kind of contained in your question. For a monopolist, monopoly is always good. If I'm an investor in the monopoly, I'm always happy. But nobody else is. So that's where it boils down to, right? This becomes individual perspectives, right?
Yeah, that's exactly I said from the investor standpoint, because when you reach out to the investors from a startup standpoint, they always think that if you have a competition and if you're probably a new startup entering into the market, you will always be eaten up by, or they have advantage.
So that's a different way to look at that question, and competition will always be there, whether no matter how innovative it is, right?
So I think that's where we support and ask, saying, okay, when you're defining TAM, SAM, SOM, we ask you how much market share you would be able to achieve, and what's your right to win. What would you be doing because of which you would have that market share? And to point about monopoly, let's ask it, we say, what's your defensibility? How will you protect yourself so that you're not eaten away by a bigger player? And those are good questions to ask, because it gives a perspective. We are putting money into your venture, and as long as you know how would you deal with market forces which are not controlled by you, you should be prepared to have a decent control in your business. That's the perspective.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Yes, ma'am. That's the last one.
Thank you.
I promised.
Hi, I'm a startup lawyer based in Dubai. I have one question for the panel. For startups with a longer gestation period, don't you think innovation is moving more rapidly than what your business strategy would have been starting out? And how important is it for a VC to invest in startups that could become a household name? Because innovation is all around us. We see hundreds of startups every day, but where does your money become most valuable?
Do you have this question to a pointed person?
No, it's whoever wants to take it.
Who wants to take it? There are 2 sides of the question. I can take the second.
I'll take the first. When you talk about it over, ma'am, right now, when it comes down to startup, because you basically operates on 2, a startup needs 5 important things to succeed. First, right idea at right point of time. Right people at right point of time. When you don't have money, you require your friends, from colleagues or anyone past colleagues where you operate on to. The third, right placement of the product at right point of time. A correct right investors over at right point of time. And fifth, is where you won't leave and keep yourself innovating. The entire 5 things, when you place it right, your startup will definitely succeed. More importantly, it entirely covers over an umbrella is your innovation and the launch of your product requires a particular time frame. It doesn't happen that, okay, I'll keep on innovating for another 10 years until unless it's a breakthrough technology which is not out there. But I'll keep in myself innovating for another 10 years, and after 10 years, I'll launch my product and place my product. There will be some another one who would have taken the first mover advantage. So if you place the 5 things correctly over in market, you'll definitely do succeed. That is from a startup's perspective, VC's perspective, I believe.
No, he's covered everything. So with that, let's give a huge round of applause to all the guys who covered and kept you awake. Thank you for allowing me to moderate the panel. Over to you.
So thank you, of course, a very impressive discussion, and a lot came out of the innovative ideas and discussion here. Yeah, it can't be, of course, done without the mementos, so I will request you to give the panel the mementos, and then I will also request Mr. Ashok Gupta, Director SCPI, to give the memento to Vikrant. So Vikrant, you do the honors first, and then Ashok can come and do the honors. So let's clap for them, and thank you for being such a wonderful audience who's been so attentive and so engaging and listening throughout. So amazing. Thank you. If we clap for everybody, it just encourages them.